Ladies and gentlemen, ATDF everything in that shelf presentation. You're now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled Rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody. What a hiatus that was.
I know, right?
Oh, boy.
We're back, though.
Yeah.
With today, we're going to be reviewing Venom, talking about a couple other things, significant things since we've been gone.
Yeah, so this, just in case this is the first time you're listening, this is Daniel speaking.
And this is Ben.
And this podcast is Spoiled Rotten, where we spoil movies by talking about all the spoilers and everything. And we maybe spoil some movies for you because we like to have wild conjecture about news items. We just read headlines and then we're like, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
Ben or Daniel?
I'm a big fan of that. Basically, we're dissecting the Breitbarts of the world and comic book world.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, those inflammatory titles, we're ripping you apart. No clickbait here.
Thank you. Thank you for that. But yeah, we've been away for a while, but that's because life is busy, and also it was too hot to record, if I'm being honest.
And there was like not a lot of content. I mean, it's just like our last episode, and then months of time, and then Venom, and then we're back. And
yeah, we missed Iron Fist 2, but also I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah,
I saw the first episode, and I was like,
yeah,
yep.
We will be getting to Iron Fist at some point.
Maybe we'll mix Daredevil 2 or 3 and Iron Fist 2 together.
We can very much mix that together.
Yeah.
That makes me very excited to actually talk about.
All right,
but yeah, let's get on to our current episode. And today, of course, we're hosted on The Shelf.
Yeah, still dorkshelf.com if you want to get there, but The Shelf Podcast Network. We're very happy to be there, and here we go.
Moving on up in the
we
world.
did not agree upon an actual order, but I guess we should start with DC stuff.
Yep, let's do it.
Let's do the no, we usually do trailers first, right?
Yeah, we do trailers first.
Okay.
Let's talk about trailers and then go jump back and forth between.
Let's talk about the Aquaman trailer because we just watched it again.
The 5-minute Aquaman trailer. Now we speculated that's just good. That's Comic-Con footage that you guys just released,
probably.
as opposed to the whole Justice League fiasco, where it's like, oh well, we don't want people to it's just for you guys. No, thank you for listening to us. In the sense of, give it to Comic-Con people first, and then maybe a week later release a good quality version online.
Yeah, and we don't have to watch. I mean, props to whoever didn't put out camera leaks of this trailer.
Yeah, good stuff.
So yeah, the trailer is
pretty fantastic, actually. I mean, still some of the, still many of the issues I had.
the CGI, but we both agree Black Manta looks amazing. Not just because it's
incredible.
Not just because it's a cool design, but it actually. What do you want? The texture of it, the movement of it, the texture of it looks good compared to presumably Jason Momoa, who's no CGI. So it looks like it works together in the same universe. I like it. We liked the chase scene. We obviously really liked his interaction with Amber Heard and the that Indiana Jones style section of the trailer.
Yeah, and the old Atlantis thing or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Black Manta, it really impressed me because it was a costume that's hard to pull off.
Yes.
It's really hard to pull off that costume because it's just you look at it originally from the comic reference and you're like, this is going to look stupid. It's going to look so stupid on screen. What the hell, man? And then they pulled it off.
Yeah.
It's incredible. The DC comic, costume design people, they are on point. Everything looks great when it comes to DC costumes.
Yes, I would agree with you. I don't think there's been an off costume yet. And speaking of costumes, I was right, and I did like seeing the original Aquaman. I don't care about Aquaman. Don't misconstrue this as me being like, thank you, my childhood has been redeemed. Yeah. I just mean it looked good on him. Yeah. To Ben's point, they're doing a good job with the costumes. But yeah, I liked when she smashes the thing, and he's like, "What? No, we should have written it down. That was a good joke. Yeah. We should have just peed on it. That was a good joke."
Those forced moments of dialogue where he's like, "This is badass." I'm just we could use less of that.
This trailer only had one instance of it, so that was good. I did appreciate that it was just one surfer dude moment, and I get that you hired Jason Momoa for a certain thing, so it's silly of us to think we're not going to get more of that. It's just I like that this one kind of tempered it a bit. It's a bit much.
It is. It is. It's a bit much, but it's like you said. Only one part of the trailer. We're not gonna sit on top of that or obsess over it. But it's looking good. I like the fact that we're seeing Nicole Kidman doing a couple of things there. Yeah. You know, like everything's looking great in this trailer. And it's just one of those things where ultimately it's going to come down to what's going to happen in December when we actually get to watch this.
There's too
what's
many
it going to
movies.
look like? Because that's going to be a huge episode because we're going to that's like into the Spider-Verse as well as this.
Well, I was thinking it's good that we took this hiatus because then we don't have to take that hiatus like in the January months because we're going to be backlogged with December movies basically.
Yeah, December's going to keep us busy for a while. This does get me. I will say though, for a purpose of a trailer, this does.
Yes,
get
I'm
me
more excited.
Much
about it.
more excited about Aquaman. This was a movie that I'm like, I don't care. It's one of those things where I'm like, there's no Star Wars being released in December, so I guess I have to watch something.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Aquaman's going to take that place. So that ended up being really, really good for me. But at the same time, now I'm actually excited for it. I'm excited for. What James Wan has done in the trailers, how he's going to make Aquaman cool because he is the joke of the DC universe. It's just funny.
Yeah.
But now it looks like something I'm actually going to be into and have a lot of fun with, at the very least.
Exactly.
So
I'm into that. Should we just do all the trailers together?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let's do Dark Phoenix next.
Oh, my God.
I did not care about it. While we were watching it before recording, all I was thinking was, when am I going to get some water to drink during the episode? They've burnt me too many times.
So shitty.
Is what I'll say.
It's so shitty.
I loved First Class. That was such a strong start for these characters.
Yep.
But then what I didn't say when we were watching is First Class takes place in the 60s.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence makes sense because she's a shapeshifter. She can look however she wants.
It's so good.
But
James
at some point,
McAvoy?
Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy have got to age.
Yep.
If it's the 90s now,
and
they were like almost 30 in the 60s,
well,
what is happening?
The funny thing, too, is like the original one with Sir Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart.
That is correct.
Was set in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was.
Well, we don't know if the first one was in the future or not.
Yeah.
Like it could have been, but the point is in that continuity, I know it's all supposed to be the same continuity, but every movie is its own thing. In that trilogy of the originals, in the third one, they go back in time to see Jean. They're basically, because everyone has already pointed out, this basically just looks like The Last Stand.
Yep.
It is The Last Stand
without Wolverine. That's exactly what this is.
Yeah, what's her face is like the Wolverine in this, I guess. Jean, or what? Mystique.
Yeah.
Except for she probably dies, so she won't be.
I hope she dies, because at this point in time, there's literally no reason for her to be involved in these movies anymore.
Well, I just thought maybe they would shift her over to the bad guy side.
That's what I was hoping.
Not kill her, just be like...
Make her interesting again.
Yeah, go...
She's not. This whole I'm going to be helping these people out. I'm going to be an X-Man. I'm like, no, stop it. We don't want that.
Like, it worked up until... whatever, even Apocalypse, because they kind of just pulled her back in. She was off doing her own thing. But this movie should shift her over to bad guy territory and not kill it. I'm pretty sure she just dies, because the whole point is Beast is all upset. Because I think Beast is the one that goes over to the bad side.
That'd be fun.
That
would not be convincing, but it'd be fun. It'd be convincing for like a scene or two. Like it's
convincing because of what I'm just thinking about this now. In this continuity, they've decided like Beast can look human when he's all right, and then he like basically hulks out, for lack of a better term. So if he goes full on Beast mode and goes to the bad side, I can see that for this character, not for like a comic accurate or anything like that, but like at least there's kernels of that within this universe, and then they can bring him back or whatever. I don't know. But it looks like he'll have a lot more to do in this movie. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to him having a lot more to do, because I'm a big fan of this iteration of Beast, but this is just, to me, I just cannot wait.
I hate this dog.
I can't wait for Marvel Studios to take over the X-Men franchise.
Yeah,
I can't wait. To me, I didn't care about whether or not the Avengers could mesh with the X-Men and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They
could have both agree we
worlds.
still want them separate worlds, but just Marvel takes care of the X-Men.
I just want someone with some foresight and some continuity and some understanding of the characters to actually treat this property properly. That's it. I don't actually want like, oh, okay, well, I want to see the new Wolverine go up against whatever, like Captain America. I don't care about that. I really don't. What I want is an X-Men movie I can care about again.
Yeah. It's probably not going to be this. Also, they pushed the movie back again. Because
Yeah,
if you
and
watch
that
the
was
trailer,
the
it
most
says
embarrassing thing.
February 14th, and
Yep.
everyone's like, aw,
Yeah,
like
it's
Deadpool.
gonna
And
be
then
like
they're like, June.
Nope.
Which
Like
someone
literally 2
pointed
days later.
Yeah, someone pointed out that it shows that they have more. What's the word? I can't speak English anymore. Not that I can speak any other language. They have more confidence in the movie now, putting it out in the summer.
I disagree.
I mean, you wouldn't put it out in the summer if you didn't believe in it.
I feel like in this day and age, the summer season of movies is no longer a big thing.
Oh, I mean,
It's
we
much
think that
longer
because we're going to
period.
watch any movie
Yes.
that we want to see, no matter what. But in terms of actually hitting $1 billion or whatever like that, which most studios are trying to do now, that's
Of course.
kind of the bar you set. Yeah, you don't put something out in February if you think it's going to make that much money. Like MCU can. Like,
Yeah.
they know people are coming to their movies no matter what.
Exactly.
Fox doesn't know that. That's why they've
Yep.
stalled on New Mutants. But
I honestly think it's due to a lot of because like the reshoots that they had were extensive. They're like 3 months long. That's the entire length of a shoot in general.
yeah, no, August would be. If it was August, I would agree. They were just scared and pushed it out.
Yep.
But June, that's a statement. That's saying like we think this can do something.
It's a lot of confidence for what they showed off in this trailer. One thing I will say though is Sophie Turner's accent. She got she
better?
did some voice acting coaching or whatever it is, some linguistic stuff, but much better, less distracting.
It sounds
this time
exactly the same to me, but I'm glad that it's
Yeah.
working on you.
It worked way well better.
But
For me.
it
Her
didn't-
performance
it-
itself, did the exact same
Yeah.
thing. I'm like, either you're Sansa or you're nothing. Like, just stop it. Like, stop.
Shut up,
Yeah.
Sansa.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have a problem with it really the first time, and it seems like it's the exact same thing to me this time. So good for her.
The whole like Charles
they better
is
not
the
kill
oppressor
Cyclops
angle
again.
is not great.
Wait, what?
The whole Charles being the oppressor angle, I'm just like I don't.
Well, that's
really,
part of the Last Stand thing.
It totally is.
So like,
I'm just like it's exactly like Last Stand. Even though like in the Phoenix storyline, that is how it all plays out. I'm just like, I'm sorry. This is just it's the exact same movie over again. And you think you're going to get much more space stuff in there to be like, ooh, this is going to be slightly different with the Shi'ar and all that kind of stuff. But I think they're only going to use the blackboard like once for the final fight in space, and that sucks. It
no,
really
I think
sucks.
they go out into space. That's where Mystique dies, and then the rest of it is like back here on Earth as everyone deals with what happened in space.
Sure.
That's what I've heard. It doesn't matter. To your point, there's one scene in space. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not like a
It's
space.
not like a space
thing.
adventure thing. That would have actually made it different, and I would actually cared for it. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
But nope, they're doing it.
It
this
looks
way.
like it'll be just whatever. I don't. I don't know. Actually, I might not like it, but
Yeah,
I don't think I'll love it either.
Yeah,
Who knows though? The second trailer might really turn us around like Aquaman.
yeah. Third
Let's-
trailer,
Yeah, let's talk about Captain
Marvel. This is a big trailer.
I liked it. A lot of people are lukewarm on it.
A lot of people are just like shitting all over it for reasons I can't understand. I legitimately am looking forward to this, not only because it's a Marvel movie,
Yes.
and we've come to a level of confidence now where we're like we're gonna have a good time no matter what. Even I've come to like when I was watching Ant-Man and the Wasp. You guys all know how much
You don't like Paul
I
Rudd.
am indifferent towards Paul Rudd.
I
But
feel like you're more
I was-
actively against him than indifferent.
I'm against him as a leading man.
Yeah.
So, which explains why I was actually excited for Ant-Man and the Wasp, because Evangeline Lilly balanced
Yes.
it out and all that kind of stuff. But I was legit excited for that. One of the franchises that I'm just like, I don't really care that much about in the Marvel Universe. I was excited for that. I'm excited for this as well, just based on the fact that it's a Marvel movie, but it looks legitimately amazing. It really does. I
Yes.
want like 90s nostalgic feels all the time, and that blockbuster thing was great. So I want to like.
I think
more
that's the
90s
one
stuff.
thing that I just didn't care about. I was like,
Yeah.
whatever. But I think it's a smart thing in terms of nothing about it for me looks like the 90s except for that she
Yeah.
lands in a blockbuster. So then I was like, well, that's smart storytelling within this trailer.
Yep.
But I wasn't like, ooh, blockbuster, yay! I was just like, all right, there you go. Now I know it's the 90s.
Yeah.
There's so many theories like about is Captain Marvel the one who takes out Nick Fury's eye? Is Coulson the one? Like, I'm like,
Oh.
I like what the trailer has spawned. In addition to just enjoying the trailer,
It's got us to
in
talk
general.
about it.
Yeah,
And it's great.
It started the conversation.
Yep.
Obviously, she punches an old woman.
Love that so much.
I guess when I was thinking, I was like, they know that the audience who already knows Captain Marvel will know that that's a Skrull, but
Yep.
is she the Skrull? I was thinking, wait. But then I heard, like, that's not how Skrulls work. It's not like you can just have, like, they replace the person. They're not, like, just shape-shifting and the other person can, like, roam around.
Right.
So I guess she won't be a Skrull. But
Yep.
I was just like, but she could be the Skrull, and that could be, like, that could be the switch, like, when we go into the movie thinking, yeah, and then she's going to punch a Skrull old lady. But then you're like, no, wait, she's the Skrull. But no, that's not the case. So it's just a Skrull old lady.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
I just like the fact that Marvel has said multiple times that this is not going to be an origin movie in the traditional sense. And the fact that they're unveiling her origin on Earth through flashbacks, that the
Well, like,
alien
it looks
DNA.
like there's 3 timelines that
Yeah.
are happening, and I think that's cool. Like,
I think it's very clever to do that.
I mean, you
Because
got
I'm like,
2 directors going, so you can probably get away with getting some stuff, like multiple timelines going.
Because I'm like, that was the biggest issue with Doctor Strange. I'm like, this is Iron Man with a different actor. That's all it really is. And then,
Yeah.
and
There's
then
no denying that.
Like they were like, okay, we heard what you had to say, so we're gonna do flashback storytelling, time travel, baby. And
I
I'm
just
like,
don't want it to be like Arrow.
Exactly,
Where, like,
yeah.
I don't care about the flashback stuff, but they keep having to go back to it.
But the thing is, the flashback stuff in Arrow was probably one of the coolest things that was happening at the time, up until like the final 2 seasons. And then it was just like, oh, okay, I guess this is.
I
just...
see there's more to mine from this.
Yeah.
Once
But
he gets off the island, I feel like we should stop.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing too is, the argument was very, very clear. When you had those flashbacks, you had a very young Oliver Queen that was turning into the Arrow, and then you have an established Arrow.
Yeah,
The
can.
further
it's
along
good.
the seasons, the closer those 2 characters got. So it's just like, why do I care about this anymore?
Yes.
It's a hard storytelling
But
standpoint.
for Captain Marvel, it'll work because
It'll work very
I
well.
think a lot of it is also like, are those implanted memories she's having? So I think that even speaks more to what Marvel was saying about this might not be or this isn't an origin story. Like, you might find out that isn't actually her origin. Like, whatever they've been building, because like, you see them like putting stuff in her head.
Yeah.
And I think people assume Jude Law is Marvel, but I don't remember the villain name. I'm not going to look it up.
Right.
But like, that he's just this other villain that could be implanting stuff in his head.
Sure.
Or her head, rather.
Yeah.
And she might just be the original Captain Marvel. They don't have to like
Do
go
the
the route of
Marvel
she
trains,
inherits
like,
it from a
yeah.
male character. She
Right.
can just be her own thing.
Yeah.
Which I would be on board for too. Like, some of that like
I'm a big fan of that.
unreliable narrative stuff.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that, just especially because it doesn't seem like it needs to do that. It's not like a Green Lantern situation where
Yeah.
like the Lantern has to, once the Lantern dies, the Ring has to find a new person.
Right.
Like, that would be kind of what this is, but it's not in the sense where the original was kind of like that. But now I'm just like, no, just make it so that she gets the powers.
yeah.
Or like something happens, or like an alien like fuses
she
the
is
DNA.
a Kree,
Yeah.
but she like has been made to think she's human or something like that.
That would be very cool too. I think that would be fantastic. It would explain so much about like how powerful she is and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Like, while she's on assignment or something like that, she hits her head. I don't know. Like, there's so many ways to do it, but I'm just excited for it.
I
Really
really
excited
like
for
the look of Samuel Jackson, just because I'm a Samuel Jackson fan.
I'm a huge Samuel L. Jackson fan.
So, like,
I'm like, this is Pulp Fiction Samuel L. Jackson. This is
Yeah,
great.
he looks good. Obviously, Coulson looks good.
Yep.
Yeah, I am looking forward to this.
I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm not sure why everyone has such like strong criticisms against it, but whatever.
I just
You
think
can't
a
please
lot
everyone.
Of them, I think a lot of what it is, it's like a lot of people that are like, oh, they're pushing PC culture again. I'm like, no, man, it's just a movie about a girl.
Yeah, it's a
superhero.
character that
Like,
has existed and
like,
does.
how is
it.
this PC? I don't
They
understand.
didn't make her up for this
It's like,
movie.
Yeah, and I'm like, do you feel like there's a lack of male superheroes? Because that's clearly not the case. So
No.
it's just like, why
And
are you
even
shitting
in
all over
this, like, she's got Samuel Jackson working with her the whole time. So if you're,
Yeah.
I guess he's black, so then that might piss people off too.
Yeah, it
but
doesn't
like, yeah, I like it because it might be more of a Nick Fury origin story.
It
Like
seems
a
like more of a Nick
backdoor, yeah.
Fury. Because like, I like the line where it was like, before I met you,
Yeah,
I was gonna
hunt-
quit and all
yeah.
that kind of stuff. I'm like, this is great. Like, this is how he gets in. Like, this is how he found his passion Work with superheroes, baby. So yeah, really looking forward to that. And that looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for that.
So that was that trailer.
Yep. Let's talk some wild conjecture.
So yeah, so DC stuff. Zack Snyder, who's constantly like, yeah, they didn't let me do my movie, so I'll just keep telling you about it.
Yep, I love that.
Vero, and I do have Vero, but I haven't been on it for a while. He said that he was going to kill Batman in Justice League 2, which
I'm a big fan of that.
I'm not a fan of killing like landmark characters like that, but I do know the storyline of Batman getting hit with the Omega Beam and being sent into time. And if Justice League 2 really was going to be a Darkseid movie, that makes sense.
Yep.
And for the general audience, yes, it would look like Batman was dead. But if he was we do know that he does those storylines. He doesn't execute them well, but everything is there for you to be like, oh, that's this storyline.
It's true.
So yes, I do 100% believe that that's what he would have followed through on.
Totally, he would have done that because they wouldn't have killed him. It's not like a situation where it's like, oh, this is us saying goodbye to Wolverine. Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. It's not like that. It's just like it's clearly deceptive storytelling again in the storyline. So like people like you and I, we were like, yep, we would have loved that. Just to egg on and troll the people that are like, they're gonna kill Batman. We're gonna get angry about this.
Well,
and like, I think apparently
suckers. I think it would be more like how Superman died at Batman vs Superman, which again, I still haven't heard anyone say I knew he was going to die at the end of that movie.
Yeah, no one said I knew. Like if anyone says that, you're full of shit because you're just being like, oh, like no, you just remembered it. And
everyone knows if Doomsday's in it. Like no one said that. They were like, well, now I know Doomsday's in it.
You didn't make that prediction. It was just one of those things where it's like at the last minute, it's like, oh, you literally put that in at the last minute.
Yeah,
because it's just like if you look at everything, it's just like no, you gotta. There's no movie lapse between Batman vs Superman and Justice League. That's literally feeding directly into the next movie, and now you got to like bring your hero back up to life again. This is so dumb in the sense where it's just like you should have just kept him alive as opposed to kill him and not have a gap in time. Like if you killed him at the end of Justice League, and then Man of Steel 2 was like 8 years away, which it very well may be.
Oh yeah, we never even talked about
we never talked about the Henry Cavill thing. He's basically
probably not.
He like Superman. They're playing coy about it, but I feel like they're just like negotiating.
Well, no, it was like the Hollywood Reporter, so not a comic book site, like a proper film journalism site. It's not like we're talking about like the Times or something. I'm just saying a site that their job is to like get that stuff right. Like they are usually like weeks behind this kind of news. Was like Henry Cavill's out. You don't get that report if he's not out. That's not like they weren't like, I heard this somewhere. Let's run with that. Like someone had confirmation, and then they were just like, no, we like him. We're not making any movies with him, but we like him, which isn't denying that he's out. That's just saying, well, we're not mad at him. And then they're like, but we are going to be doing Supergirl movies and not Superman movies. Can't stress enough, no more Superman movies. So, and we know that Henry Cavill's going to be in the Netflix series The Witcher, so he's moving on.
Oh, he's moving on because he's fed up.
It's unfortunate. So. I enjoy and he's not going to be in Shazam.
Yes,
which sucks because that would have been.
And apparently, it was like all that was the catalyst that drove all this was the fact that he's like, oh, we can't get him to appear in Shazam.
So what I heard is, and we found out with Wonder Woman, and what we talk about all the time, when you sign these people for multiple, no matter what you sign them for, that after that third movie, there is like a significant pay bump.
Yes.
For your appearance, like for just so even if it was that cameo, which leads me to believe they were kind of just being like, hey, when you're filming Witcher, do you want to do the Shazam cameo? And he's like, no, I can't do that. They're like, oh, you are. Come on, don't be like that. Fine, then you're out.
Yep. I feel like it's a lot of like backhanded negotiation tactics.
Yeah, where
that
they're
are
like,
just like,
oh, sorry,
no,
we can't pay you more. So
we're like grinning the entire time. It's like we can't afford to pay you that full salary for our 1 day's worth of shoot for you to put this thing on. And then he's just like, nope, well, not going to happen.
Yeah,
that's how everything broke down.
So yeah, there's
apparently
that's not. So he's probably gone unless something changes, which it obviously could.
Yep. More money. That's usually what it is. But in order to get more
Fair
money.
enough, man. As I said,
I
I'm not
enjoyed
really
him.
a Superman fan, and I like him.
I
as
will
Superman.
say that, like, in every fan cast that I've ever seen of, like, the DC universe, because whenever like you and I go like, yeah, let's recast the DC universe,
it's hard to do Superman.
It's hard to do
Henry
Superman because he
works.
does it so well.
Yeah.
He really does, and he fits the role very, very well. The fact that he's now happy Superman was great. So I was like, okay, this is great. But that's more of an issue with directors and writing and everything like that than it is about the acting. Acting wise, I'm a big fan of Henry Cavill as Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I am. So it's really sad to see him go. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be someone else that comes along. They're going to reboot the whole thing.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. But yeah.
So that's that. I don't even really remember where we were going with that, but we got to wherever we got. Let's talk about the Avengers title.
Oh, yeah.
This should be the last thing we do, and then we'll...
So apparently one of the newest rumors is that it's called Avengers Annihilation.
Sure.
Who cares?
Well, there's a storyline, but I didn't look it up.
Yeah.
So that could be some clues.
I just feel at this point in time, the Russo brothers are amazingly good at tricking people.
Yeah.
Because when the Russos posted that picture on Instagram, it was like, look closer, you'll find a hint or something like that. I'm pretty sure he means that if this was shot with a 10,000 megapixel camera, we can zoom in on the script of the laptop that I'm reading, and it will say slightly, this is the title. Like, that's what I'm
Well, there's
thinking
also,
more than anything
like,
else.
possibly the poster for the movie in that picture. It's, like, what he's looking at. But your eye is drawn to the A and what looks like an E, which everyone was like, Endgame.
Yeah, and
That's
then they're,
it.
like,
But
spelling
there is
things
multiple
out.
A's in it,
Yeah.
which you could also say Avengers Annihilation. Either way.
Or you could say, like, there's 4 A's. That's A4, the fourth Avengers movie,
Yes.
or whatever. There's so many
Yeah.
different ways. And I'm just like, why does it matter that it's Endgame? It doesn't matter.
Well, just because people were like, that's what Doctor Strange said, and Doctor Strange was a pretty big deal in that movie. And I'm like, all of that is true, but I don't care what. We already talked about this through text. It doesn't matter what the name of the movie is because I'm just gonna like it based on what happens in the movie and not based on the title. Because for the most part, I think they did a good job with Civil War, but for the most part, the titles don't mean we were getting what happened in the comic.
Oh, we're never
exactly
gonna get that. We're never going to get
And
that. There's too many
I'm fine with
restraints.
it.
There's too many restraints from a movie telling standpoint. You just can't, the licenses aren't the exact same. Like, you can't get the same characters. Like, I don't think the title actually matters whatsoever.
Yeah.
Unless it's like they did something like Avengers 4 Zippity Doo.
Well, what I'll say
oh
is,
yeah, they're phoning it in now. This is great.
what I will say is, to people who are fixated on the title, it matters to the point of, like, with all the leaks I've seen of what the storyline is. If the movie is called Avengers Annihilation, that does debunk most of what people have been saying will happen in the movie.
Yeah.
Because what I've been seeing aligns more with a title like Endgame, whereas Annihilation actually makes me more excited because it can be like, well, then it will be something new and different and not what I've read, which I still would have enjoyed watching, but also it is more interesting knowing that if it is an Annihilation, which no one has confirmed it is, that would take that. There's obviously connotations with the word annihilation that feel more pessimistic than Endgame, where you can at least be like, well, when Doctor Strange said it, it made it seem like that would that would end in something good,
right?
The Endgame versus Annihilation. But
see, I still don't think it matters. I get why people think it does. I just don't think it matters.
Yeah.
In the sense where it's like, okay, it's the title of the movie. It's not going to tell you exactly what's going to happen in the movie. It's not going. It's going to give you hints.
It'll give you.
It's going to let us talk about it. I'm pretty sure their marketing department is like, if we call it Endgame, people are going to think this is going to happen, and they're going to continue talking about it. But if it's Annihilation, they might not talk about it. So they've probably done that kind of stuff behind the scenes to be like, ooh, let's troll everyone.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's not going to change the story whatsoever. It's not going to change anything about it. It's already done.
Well, what else? Well, no, it isn't done. That's the other stuff. They're still filming that.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah. When I say done, I mean like Captain America is done. Spoilers.
Yeah, but that was just recently.
He did.
But what I guess what I would say is they've been obviously thinking about the title.
Yes.
For a long time.
Correct.
And in their belief, the title will give you an idea of what happens.
Yep.
So that's the only thing I would say against what you're saying, is that to the filmmakers it means something.
Yeah.
So that is probably why fans would fixate on it.
Mm-hmm. To me, I'm a bigger fan of speculating on promotional material. Like,
Yeah, what are they going to do with that?
when The Last Jedi came out and there was those two posters that like showed Luke on the good side and the dark side, I was like, ooh,
And they
does
really
Luke
threw
turn
me
bad?
for a loop because I was
Yeah.
like, oh, he could turn bad. Ray could turn bad.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like that to me was
And
like,
then I was like,
now
oh,
let's
no, never
speculate.
mind.
Let's go wild about this. But now it's just like they're really playing a long troll game
Yeah.
here.
Fair enough. Good for them.
Yeah.
I guess they have
think it's
to.
fun.
Yeah.
I think it's fun to watch the whole internet world go like crazy about it and like just jump to their conclusions about what like this is your theory? Wow, really?
Well, speaking about going crazy for something, let's talk about Venom.
Oh yeah. I like what you did there.
What a great movie. Let's say, honestly, one of my favorite movies of the year.
Wait, seriously?
No, of course not.
Okay.
Here's,
I'm like I couldn't tell.
I didn't hate it, though.
Yes. That's the operative word. I did not hate it. Now,
Here's-
before we actually go into our ratings, can we talk really quickly about the really funny thing I've heard about the Lady Gaga fans trolling this
trolling,
movie,
yeah.
as well as Russian bots trolling this movie?
No, that
apparently-
was it this movie? I know Russian bots trolled Last Jedi.
Last
I didn't know
Jedi.
about
Apparently,
Venom.
they trolled the Last Jedi, which I think is hilarious.
That makes more sense than Venom. I don't think
Yeah.
there's many stakes for Venom.
there's no stakes
Yeah.
involved at all.
Lady Gaga fans make sense. They want
Yeah.
their
But this-
person to win.
So
but,
so for those of you that don't know this, Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper have a movie coming out the same weekend as Venom: A Star Is Born, and the fans of Lady Gaga need this movie to do well for
which it will.
which
You don't have
which
to
I
worry
think it
about
will because
No, don't
Daniel's
worry.
watched it, he likes it. I'm gonna watch it too.
I always pick the winners.
Yeah, but they think that if Venom does bad, more people will watch The Star Is Born this weekend.
I
And
just
will
don't
tell
think
you
there's a
one
big
thing.
cross section
I'll
of like,
tell you one thing. There's not a lot of movie-seeing demographic that crosses over in this realm, I think.
yeah, I don't
not
think
a
there's
lot.
anyone who's like, which one am I going to watch? You're either
Yeah.
like me and you watch both, or you
Yeah.
always were just going to watch one or the other.
Exactly. It's just
No
one of
one's
those
like,
things.
"Ooh, which
Yeah.
one? Which one?
It's silly. I'm just like
You
this
would know from the
is
trailers right away, like,
so
oh, I guess I'm
juvenile.
going to watch both that weekend, or
Yeah. Because I'm definitely
I'm-
going to watch both, but I don't know a lot of people that would be like that are diehard Venom fans. Is like, yeah, I want to watch like A Star
I'm
Is Born as
so
well.
torn
I
about
just-
what I'm going to do.
I don't think it's a polar opposite thing. I just think the Venn diagram, the overlap is much smaller, like 20%. You're talking about a 20% swing vote
Yeah.
in regards to like who's going to see A Star Is Born. And that's a very, very small subsection of the population that's like, I only got time this weekend for one movie. It's got to be Venom or A Star Is Born.
And I don't think anyone is
Yeah.
torn about that decision. I think everyone who's in that situation is like, yeah, I'm just going to see A Star Is Born.
Yeah.
Or I'm just going to see Venom.
Exactly. That's it. The effort.
Although there is a
think it's
Marvel
hilarious.
presence in A Star Is Born. Obviously, Bradley Cooper is
Rocket.
and Sam Elliott, not Wilson.
Yep.
Sam Elliott was Thunderbolt Ross in the movie called Just Hulk, not The Hulk.
Yep.
The Ang Lee one.
Yep.
So it's got that going for it.
So
You know, if you were to
Lady
watch
Gaga
both.
fans can't win either way.
And
is
everyone
what we're
thought Lady
saying.
Gaga was going to be Dazzler at some point, so that's another Marvel connection.
So you lose, Lady Gaga fans. But yeah, no, that's just a really funny sidebar. Let's get right into this thing. Venom.
So here's my take on Venom. I don't.
Yep.
It's obviously not interested in the comic books, other than
No, it's not.
for some reason I feel like they were making it clear that the astronaut that kind of survived was J. Jonah Jameson's son.
Yep.
Because like, oh, it's Jameson. I'm from the cartoons. I'm not going to speak to the comics. That was how it worked. He
Yes.
brought he had his own Wolfman thing going on, but his rocket ship did bring the symbiote onto. And I'm going to say symbiote the whole time. I don't care.
Yeah. Not symbiote.
Yeah, I don't care because I know the Raimi movie said symbiote, symbiote, not symbiote. They said symbiote.
It's symbiote.
Yeah, and I say symbiote, and I'm
Yeah.
just going to keep saying symbiote. I'm aware of the differences.
Yeah.
But yeah, he brings the symbiote back, and so I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And
That was a
she
nice
did say you
nod.
got run out of New York in the Daily
Yep.
Globe, which I think they have called it that a couple of times.
I think they
in
have. I don't think
some
they called it the
continuities,
Bugle
not
or
daily.
something like
It's
that,
not
yeah.
always Daily Bugle. So
Yeah.
like all of that, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a reference. And sometimes when he gets text, I'm like, maybe that's a character name that is from the comics. But this movie is not interested in like the actual character of Venom and Eddie Brock being from those storylines or anything.
No, it's not. It's not. It's just like,
So
okay, here's some things that we have to make a nod to.
Yeah.
If Marvel was to ever be like, yeah, we like what you did, let's join forces. Cool.
But having said that, I did like what they presented as Eddie Brock in terms of just him as a person, and I liked Venom as just like a funny little devil on his shoulder type thing.
Yeah,
but then he changed.
Those were my favorite scenes.
Yeah, that there was by far like they should have leaned into that way more.
It was so comedic, and it was like those were moments where whether or not they intended to be as funny as it actually was.
I think they did.
Yeah,
I've seen interviews and heard stuff.
Yeah,
they were trying to make it funny. I just don't know why they promoted it the way they did, if that's what they were going for.
But in some of the marketing material, so even like the Chinese, like Asian kind of promotions for this movie, it was like, oh, this is Venom if he was your boyfriend, and it was like Venom like holding your bag as you went to shop or something.
I did
like
hear that.
So it's like really, really funny. It's like, oh, it's cute Venom and all that kind of stuff. And even like Jenna, who I went with, she was like, oh, I don't hate Venom, I like him, I think he's cute and pathetic. And I'm like, yeah, that's how everyone feels at the end of this movie. It's like, it's dumb. It's like, why did they do that?
So this is, I guess, where things fall apart for the movie is we know, as people who have been following this basically since they said it was happening, that they wanted it to cross over with Spider-Man at some point.
Yes.
But my thing is that, but like, they won't have an adversarial like a relationship. It's quite clear that even, and I like that they had a very distinct Venom as a character, Eddie Brock as a character. It's not like they melded, and I thought that worked, and I thought like, oh, like I would watch more movies of these two.
I thought that was quite clever. That they're really, not like it's
less of the we thing, but like but when they earn the we are Venom thing, because it's like you are really, they made a point of showing you half of Eddie Brock, like he's embracing it and stuff. But I like that Venom has his own hopes and dreams. Eddie Brock has his own hopes and dreams, and they're going to work as a team together. But like, both of them are both agreeing like we won't hurt good people. So like, even if Spider-Man was to be like, "Oh, what's that monster thing?" they were like, "No, we're good guys."
Yeah,
like, and
it's
Eddie Brock isn't trying to hide
like,
anything. Eddie Brock was just like, "No, like I like you. Like you're doing the right thing."
It's going to be immediate. Like, let's team up right away.
Yeah,
and it's just like, well, that's dumb. Then there's a whole aspect of the symbiote now being like, oh, so you didn't inherit any of the Spider Sense properties you would have from Peter Parker.
Yeah, again, which is fine. I would just keep watching this Venom never interact with Spider-Man.
But exactly, to me, it can't, because there's so much that basically. The thing I liked about Eddie Brock in the comics, and the thing I liked about Venom as a character, was that their deep-seated hatred of Peter Parker drove them to work together. This is a different kind of working together. It's like, oh, we're both losers. Let's and I like you. Let's go along for the ride kind of deal. So it's not motivated by the same thing. And once like Venom and Spider-Man have enough like battles together, you know what? You're good now. Your therapy worked. Good stuff for you, Eddie. I'm gonna leave you alone. You just stay out of New York. And whatever, like, don't make trouble here, and whatever will be good kind of deal. Like, that's how they get to the Lethal Protector storyline in San Francisco in the first place. So the whole idea of like, you were run out of New York, your journalistic integrity was gone or something like that, but you still found a job here.
Well, no, it wasn't his journalistic integrity. I think it was just you are pissing too many people off. And so you have to go all the way to the other side of the country.
Right.
And then obviously we're watching as he's pissed off enough people on that coast as well.
Yeah.
And so then he finally does get to the space where you would have him desperate enough.
I disagree with your people who want to see Venom don't want to see Spider-Man.
You don't want to see Venom.
Okay, that's one person.
I'm saying you would just see the both at the same, like you would just see it the same weekend, like I did. That's what I said. There's no person that's like torn on like, oh, what am I gonna do?
No, I think there genuinely is.
Okay.
Because I think
really?
Yeah, I do, because I think comic books appeal to like a certain group of people.
So get in here.
Yeah, kids, come in here.
Get in here. So we've got Pauline doing a little bit of a guest appearance, and like to the extent I can see where she's going with this point.
Yes, because comic books appeal to people who, like, I would say maybe are like marginalized populations sometimes.
Yes.
And I think Lady Gaga appeals to those same people.
Yes.
So if you're like a diehard Gaga person, you might as well be someone who's like a diehard comic fan. And I actually think that crossover would be a lot more than you think.
See, here's
But
where
I think those people would see Venom on the Thursday, like I did, and then see A Star Is Born on Friday.
yeah.
That's
I disagree. I think people would be torn.
I think the reason why they're torn is in this scenario where it's date night, and they're like, "Does my girlfriend want to watch A Star Is Born, or do I want to watch Venom?" Because both, in my opinion, are great date night movies.
Yeah.
Comic book movies are excellent date night movies.
Yeah.
They're fun, they're easy to relatable, and something like A Star Is Born is very fun to like. It's an objectively great
Certainly
date night
not
movie.
fun.
That's not a rom-com, because a lot of people are like, rom-coms are great date. No, it's a terrible experience for both people. It's like dinner theater. You're getting crappy food and terrible theater.
Yikes.
It's not a thing. So to me,
no, yeah.
I feel like
For-
with the
no
argument,
offense, dinner theater.
Well, to me, I feel like the argument that you're making right now is good because it splits the date night category of going people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I, for example, went on a date and so they were like, "Let's watch A Star Is Born," I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'm watching the Sunday matinee of Venom. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna do both."
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
I'll
that's what
agree
we
with
said.
that.
Okay, great.
I like your new tattoo.
We agreed.
Yeah.
Is this a new one?
Yep.
Oh, it's really nice. Thanks. See ya.
We got a guest appearance
Bye-bye, I
by
love you.
Pauline.
Bye, I love you too.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, what were we saying? Yeah, so I'm glad that happened, but now I don't remember what we were talking about before.
Well, we were talking about the issue
yes.
with having
So
the
the issue.
Spider-Man
So I think-
Venom.
To me, when they were doing rated R and they were doing it without Spider-Man, that would have worked. I feel like with this movie we got,
so?
it would have worked in terms of me believing like I don't need Spider-Man in this universe, and I get where this version of Eddie Brock and Venom can work together, because essentially what they're doing is just starting him off as the not even anti-hero, but like obviously a scary type of guy.
Right.
But like they both come to an agreement at the end of like, okay, yeah, it's great. I like you as a person. I like humans. I like obviously that experience with Anne, who we'll get into later. Michelle, is it William?
Michelle Williams.
Yeah, her character, that sold him on humans. And when you find out, I mean, it's just done in one line of dialogue, but when you find out he's a loser too and Riot looks down on him or whatever, it makes sense for Venom to be like, yeah, I'll just stay here with humans where I can be cool and like actually
Yes.
make like have an effect.
That part to me, why Venom wanted to stay, makes sense. Because
Yeah.
the whole idea is like, yeah, we're on this meteorite and there's thousands of us, and I'm like the loser
Millions.
of all of them, or like millions of them. It's like, and I'm the loser of
Yes.
all of them. To me, it was just like, okay, I get why you want to stay on Earth.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
so
to
like
me.
you buy that he wants to stay, and obviously he's a more extreme version than Spider-Man because his his fix is I'll just bite their heads off.
Yep.
So he gets what he wants out of that.
Yep.
Because there's probably no shortage of people to bite heads off of.
Yep.
And so, as I said, I would keep watching these movies of this Venom just interacting with only like villains, because they're not trying to sell him by the end as an anti-hero or someone who does the wrong things and sometimes has to do the right thing. Like he just, that Eddie Brock character, even down to his show, is about I'm taking down these people who
Yep.
think they can get away with doing bad things.
Yes.
So like, so like I was like, yeah, I get it. There are two entities that want to do something, and he's just swayed this person who could have gone either way. Sorry, Eddie Brock has swayed Venom, who could have gone either way, villain or hero, into being like, fine, I'll be a hero. And so I would watch that. But yeah, it gets complicated when you add Spider-Man into it.
Yeah. Because
So
now
I
when
don't
they
know
meet
why
each
they
other,
tried
it's-
to do that. Other than, yes, you go PG-13 for more money, which they definitely will get.
Oh, totally.
More money.
Easily.
And yes, while a rated R would have made for like more fun F-bombs and more blood and gore,
Yeah.
I do agree that with other people who have said like he's not an inherently R-rated. Like Carnage is inherently R-rated.
Yes.
Venom is not inherently R-rated.
No.
You can push the PG-13 limits with Venom.
Yes. With Venom, like, I will agree with that. Like, if we had a Carnage solo movie and it wasn't rated R, I'm like, this is going to be terrible. It's going to be absolutely awful. But we had a Venom movie that was rated R, so I'm like, oh, they're going to make him more hardcore. And then they backed him down to PG-13 where he belongs. I'm like, okay, yeah, well, I mean, it's not like every iteration of Venom we saw before was a rated R version.
Right.
It just wasn't that. It was just like, you either, with the R rating, you would have like pushed him into new territory, and that would have been interesting to explore. But keeping up PG-13 keeps him essentially the same character that we've all known. That's the truth of the matter. Because
the dark stuff for him is related to Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and since they're not in this movie, you don't have to take it that dark.
Exactly.
I appreciated that he was like, oh, I lost everything for doing the right thing, but that movie was always. I can't imagine they changed anything in terms of the way he gets portrayed. That movie was always interested in looking at Eddie Brock as someone who will do the right thing.
Yes.
Even when it doesn't benefit him.
Yeah. And I've done a lot of thinking about this too, and I thought like the way that they edited the movie together, or the sequence of the events of the movie, if they changed it around, it would have been more compelling as an anti-hero movie. Because my biggest issue
you can.
with the
There
movie,
is a good anti-hero movie in there.
Yeah, there is, but it's just the way it was edited, or the way the sequence of progression of the story was. It didn't compel me to think anything, because what you have here is now not an anti-hero movie, but a hero that has fallen from like a good guy that's fallen from grace and then finds it again.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, that's not really an anti-hero. Like, it would have been cool to me if they explored Eddie Brock in the pits of his depression
and
his
Venom letting him indulge in that, but that never really happens.
Exactly, right? We meet Eddie Brock during that 6-month jump. Like, so he's been fired from whatever already. Like, we didn't need to see him being like, "Oh, I'm Eddie Brock. Like, this is how I got fired." We didn't need to see that. We just could that could have been explored in dialogue, but it could have been like, Eddie Brock down on his luck, remembering the flashbacks of the date nights between his relationship with Michelle and all that kind of stuff. Michelle Williams and weighing, and then just exploring that, having a hard time through that, maybe a little bit more of the alcohol abuse angle or whatever, and then Venom attaches on, explores that a little bit more. It's like, yeah, I don't care, but I'm gonna bite his head off, and then all of a sudden Anne sees Venom doing this kind of stuff, and then he has a reevaluation, and then boom, let's tell this story of like, okay, well, we care so much about this Anne person that we want to change her opinion. Things matter now, and let's try to do some good. Let's get some redemption. That would have been so much more compelling.
Here's what I liked about that not being how the story was told.
Right.
It gave, again, Anne Wang doesn't get a lot to do, but I appreciated what she did in the movie a lot more, because it wasn't we have to get the girl backstory, putting her in this kind of like objectified thing. It was like he lost her, and they obviously still care about each other, can get into a romantic sense, but obviously, as I think all the stuff you do need beforehand, seeing them happy together, and he even says like, we were gonna get married 6 months. Like, that wasn't just like we were dating. Like, we were gonna get married 6 months ago, and now we don't even talk, and you have a guy like living with you. Like, I think all of that is important to building up.
It's so important. It absolutely is. That's what I did appreciate behind that.
But like, I also like that. Like, one, she gets to be She-Venom for a bit, and that she actually talks to Venom like he's his own character as well. Like, there's that scene where it's like, wait, you're killing him. Like, do you know what you're doing and stuff like she wasn't talking to, like, it's not, she's not like painted as like this woman who's just like, Eddie, what are you doing? Like, how could, and like blaming him, or like she believes him and is like, okay, fine, he's talking to you, and he's like, yeah, he talks to me all the time. She's like, okay, then she addresses Venom when she needs to, and she addresses Eddie when she needs to, and then when they're like, oh, like you can't fight Riot, he'll kill you, and she's like, yes, I can, and then she does the like sound thing again. She does it twice effectively, where she's like, oh, I'm gonna get this symbiote out of him because I do believe the symbiote's trying to kill him. And she does it when they're in the scanning room, in the MRI room, and then she does it when they're on the rocket ship. Like, I appreciated that she was like actually, like, she
wasn't the damsel in distress.
Yeah, she wasn't the damsel in distress ever.
Someone that didn't have powers, but
in fact, like, she was saving Eddie multiple times.
Absolutely.
And like, she had her own thing going on.
Yeah.
Like
That-
in terms of
I
like,
love that. Like-
wait a minute, no, like I don't want to be around you
Yeah.
because you stole, like you
screwed me over.
Yeah, you screwed me over.
Yeah.
Like you betrayed my trust. Like yeah, so no, I'm not gonna like suffer through anything with
Yeah.
you. Like I'm done with this.
Yeah.
I liked that, and I liked that it wasn't like this thing where he had to like win her back or anything. It was just like, yes, they add that element, which I think is interesting in terms of world building, but
Yes.
like they do come to a thing of like even he's not even like angry at Dan. Like I loved that relationship. Like, oh hi Dan, I didn't realize you were on the phone. Yeah, okay, and like he's not like, oh how could you? He's just like, yeah, okay, you're here. Like, can you help me figure out if a symbiote would, or like this parasite would make me climb a tree or whatever? And like, even in the restaurant where it looks like he might take over Dan, he's like, nah, never mind, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And like stops as well. I liked that. Like it was an interesting wrinkle in what could have been like a generic like, and then he shows the new boyfriend why he should be with her the whole time. Like I liked that kind of.
I really enjoyed that too because I really like the entire time I was watching. I'm like, I don't hate Anne, the character of Anne, because I'm like, she's doing all the right things. She's standing up for herself. She's being like, nope, I've had enough. This is bullshit. She's doing that, and then she meets this new great guy, and
he is a good guy.
He's a great guy.
Like he's not trying to screw with Eddie. No, I thought like
he's
at some
legit.
point,
You need to get him back here because he needs help immediately. And like even during the restaurant scene where he could have been like, no man, I'm gonna throw down, I'm gonna punch you out, and all that kind of stuff. He's like, no.
Yeah, don't call the cops.
Don't call the cops. He's a patient of mine. Like
get the
he
ambulance
covers for him, and I'm just like, you're an objectively great guy, and you've done nothing wrong. There's no reason to hate you whatsoever. It's like when you rewatch Mrs. Doubtfire, you're like, wait, there's nothing wrong with Pierce Brosnan. He's actually a great guy.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy, but
No,
as a kid, you
fuck
hate him.
that.
What the hell? No, he's like a great stepdad.
I'll rewatch it, but fuck that guy.
No, he's a great stepdad in the movie, but it's one of those things where you're like, yeah, there's no reason to hate him. That's the same thing that this Dan guy does, and it's great.
They had elements of that in Ant-Man and the Wasp, where like Bobby Cannavale likes Paul Rudd. I'm like, I like those relationships. Like that's really interesting. I like that we've moved to that as well, where you don't have to be like, she's mine. No, she's mine. Like it's like, no, like fair enough, man.
It's like, nope, I screwed up, and you know what? I gotta deal with it. But at the same time, I just want to. It's like just recognize it's weird for me to know that like 6 months ago, we were like gonna spend our lives together, and I literally have not talked to you since then. That's just, I know I screwed up and all that kind of stuff. And it was like, it was a nice little moment, even though you're watching it and you're just like, how does the symbiote know about this? But at the same time, you can arguably imagine.
Well, the symbiote's not like an aspect of that in that specific scene. He's in the other scene when they're in the car where he's like, and you're sad.
Yeah, and then
when you're around her.
But also, it's like, you still haven't apologized.
Yeah,
it's like, well, how would you know? But then, like, there's some reviews I'm reading that are like, how would he know that? I'm like, okay, well, they're connected at the brain, so
yeah, he's just feeding off of what Eddie is thinking, and Eddie definitely is thinking, I didn't apologize.
Yep.
So I mean, I get why he knows. I think I also like when he's like, well, you wanted up? Why didn't you just say so? And then he like shoots him up to the top of the building. I liked Venom. I'm not saying this as a movie. I'm saying the character of Venom, the symbiote. I liked a lot, and I liked Eddie as a person. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's weak moments. It's not a fantastic movie.
No, it's not.
It does sound like I'm very positive about the movie. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to talk about the stuff I liked before we get into the stuff I didn't like. I thought that they did a good job of actually establishing a character, not comic book accurate, but just a character I would be fine continuing to watch in other movies.
I agree, because I'm just like, listen, if this wasn't so heavily tied to the Spider-Man universe, if it didn't have such like intricate
like most
backstory
people think about him as a Spider-Man villain, but I thought they did a good job of being like, well, he can just be his own thing.
Yeah, but ultimately it doesn't do what it needs to do to actually make us forget about the fact it's like, oh, Spider-Man's needed here, or like
I didn't think Spider-Man was needed. I thought it was a good. I mean, he looks naked because he doesn't have the spider logo, but like I was just like, whatever. Like in terms of looking at it as a story about Eddie Brock and this symbiote, I thought that was interesting, and obviously take the Marvel branding wherever you can get it and call it Venom.
What I really appreciated about this movie was they had, like, from a shot standpoint, they had nods to the Spider-Man origins without it being explicitly inexplicable. So, for example, you would never see, like, for Venom to not have an interaction with Peter, you would never see the symbiote or Eddie Brock web slinging.
Right.
But every time you saw him like attached to a building, it was to get away from something. It made sense, like
Yes.
for the symbiote.
Yeah,
to,
he
like,
wasn't
do that.
swinging around. He
No,
used a
he-
motorcycle. Like,
Exactly, but it was like those homages to
Right.
the actual origin of what he would do, and like even that one shot where he's like perched and like hunching on something.
Yeah, that was cool.
And he regains his balance, and then he stands up again. So it's like that moment where he's like. Kind of like he's the Spider-Man pose where he's like perching on a gargoyle or whatever, and then and then he stands up again once he gets his balance. There's all those little moments, and then of course when he creates that shield, that's kind of like what normally would have been like a web. It's just like no, it's to block all the bullets. So like everything that they did from a visual standpoint, they really took a lot of time to care about those things, to be like, yep, we're acknowledging this, but we're giving you a reason to know that it's not exactly because there used to be a spider relationship with the symbiote.
Right.
And I really appreciated that. I really did.
Yeah, I think we both agree that it did a good job of establishing this new character who happens to be called Venom.
Correct.
But it's a new character that I would have no problems like revisiting and seeing. I guess we can talk about what I didn't like. There's not that many characters, which is good also.
Yeah,
Like,
let's talk about some of those characters. So we talked about quite a bit about
Anne
Eddie
Wayne.
Brock and Anne already. Let's talk about Carlton Drake Riot, Riz Ahmed's character.
When I was thinking they were going to really dig into the Venom and Eddie Brock stuff, which they didn't, I was fine with the way Carlton Drake was portrayed, because I'm like, yeah, he's almost like, yes, eventually you need the Riot aspect, but like he isn't really looking at Eddie Brock as a threat, so he could just keep doing his own thing,
Right.
and like I'll just be invested in whether or not Venom and Eddie can get along. But they kind of just are like, no, they get along, don't worry about it. So then it does make Carlton Drake look like a weaker villain in contrast, but like that's where I'm like, this is where kind of the movie kind of falls apart, when you're kind of like, if you don't lean into really exploring Venom versus Eddie Brock and then having them come together, then yeah, I guess you're only looking to Carlton Drake as this bad guy. But like he does, for me, function like what I would imagine someone doing that would be like just being like, I have no regard for human life. I'm just like if these individuals that die, it's better that if like
He's doing it for the classical archetype of the mad scientist, to be like, you know what, for the greater good, a couple people got to fall, and like all that kind of stuff. But he never, and he does it in a way where you could see how he's got that public persona. So basically,
like I thought the interview was really, he had like a couple of strong scenes. Like the interview scene, like the way he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no, I have heard about those rumors on the internet. A lot of fake news. Like I get, that's a buzz thing, but like I was like, like he did a really good job of that, like code switch of like trying to do the public persona and then being like, okay, fine, yes, I do know about what you're doing, but like like that's not real. And then finally, it's like, okay, fuck this, no, we're done here.
It's like, you've gone too far. You actually know insider information
like,
right now. We're done here. So I think he did a really good job there, being like that public figure side of things. Where I think it fell apart a little bit for Riz Ahmed or Carlton Drake is whenever he was in the mad scientist, like the Mr. Hyde side of the Dr. Jekyll Hyde relationship that he basically has, it didn't really manifest itself into anything, in the sense where it's kind of hard because you not only have you can't, in this character you have a Jekyll and Hyde that has to exist without Riot, and then Riot gets attached and then becomes like super Jekyll or whatever. But when he's like Jekyll, he never really ends up being as evil as you want him to be.
So I think what this movie definitely is doing, again, maybe not the best way, but they're showing you that. I think that's why they keep showing you all of these bonds before it gets to Riz.
Right.
Sorry, I just used character names. Before it gets to Carlton and Eddie, they're showing you that this isn't actually a melding of two people. It really is like these entities are their own thing, and then these people are their own things, and it's not necessarily bringing out elements of these people and heightening them. It just is, are we a good match together? Can we work together? And that it doesn't actually pull on like what we know Venom to be, where it's like it brings out the darkest in you, and it's like, no, like it just is like so. every Bond we saw before was just like, no, they weren't a good match, and so that symbiote just tore them apart,
Right.
left them whenever it was done with whatever it needed, and so then there has to be an element of Venom respecting Eddie,
Yeah.
Riot respecting Carlton, but you could see that there is no like real connection with Riot when he was like, well, then they're gonna follow me, and he's like, you mean us? And he's like, sure, yeah, us. I think that's what it is. He's like, yeah, I'll use your body because you have same goals as me, but it really isn't. It's not like he's like pulling on that Jekyll aspect of him.
Right.
He really, and that's what I'm saying. Like the Carlton Drake character doesn't have that darker. We already know who he is, so there is no darker side to him.
Yeah.
And so like even if you wanted to have more elements of him trying to get on the same page as Riot, because Riot clearly is just like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Like I need you to get the codes to do this, and then I'm out of here, and whatever happens to you, I don't give a fuck. Whereas Venom and Eddie actually bond and work together, and there is no real like pulling on each other. It's just like, no, we are going to work together in one body.
Yeah, for in the situation of Riot, he clearly is like, I don't respect Carlton, and I'm just using you as the host. There's a reason why I'm using you, all that kind of stuff. But I will be killing you the moment I enter space.
Yeah,
again.
you can safely assume he will just
sure.
kill. Whereas Eddie and Venom, that's not the
Because
relationship.
I think the inconsistency here was when Jenny Slate's character, Dr. Dora
Skirth.
Dr. Skirth.
I'm Dora Skirth.
Yeah, was establishes that one scene where like the yellow symbiote attaches to the bunny, and it's like, oh, so it's kind of like an organ donor process. You have to like the genetics have to match up. You're like, okay, that's the explanation they're going with. And then with the Eddie and Venom bond, it doesn't seem to be genetically based. It seems to be personality based more than anything else.
Yes, I agree that's an inconsistency.
And then there's that inconsistency, and then the Riot.
The Riot and thing is a personality
It's
thing
a personality
too, because they both
attachment
are
as
like,
well.
no, we are leaders.
Exactly.
And, like,
but the reason why the Eddie Venom relationship works, if they're both losers, they're both beta personalities, in which case it's like, okay, let's share, let's work together. And in the Carlton Drake and Riot situation, they're both alpha personalities, so they would be warring at each other, and actually one of them would actually come to end things.
Which they didn't get into.
They didn't get into whatsoever.
You can assume that's how that would have played out.
But the problem there, because the thing is, a lot of people were like, okay, so the symbiote's in Malaysia, and all of a sudden it has to find its way to San Francisco.
Because that's Riot,
yeah,
right?
That's
Riot.
That's
is the one
Riot
that was in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in my mind, I'm just like, okay, the DNA thing, the genetic angle of it was very stupid, because obviously it's personality based. Because Riot was the Riot symbiote attached to the paramedic, then the old lady, then the kid, using them to get to the biggest alpha. And in this world, it would have been Carlton Drake to be like, because Riot's the leader of the symbiotes, he's trying to get back home to lead them and all that kind of stuff, to be like, we got a new energy source, people. Let's go feed off this planet kind of deal.
Right.
So it's clearly more attached to personality as opposed to genetics, which is what Dr. Skirth found out, and it was just like,
I guess
weird.
it's more like there is a genetic aspect in terms of like even the fact that when they were connected to certain people, even though they were a genetic match, like maybe they weren't the perfect genetic match,
Right.
because
it could have been
like they
argued
weren't
that-
looking great. Like it's not like they were like thriving. Whereas like both Eddie, Eddie didn't really look like he was thriving, but like for some reason it looked like Carlton really was like, he was fine. Like,
oh, he looked fine right off the bat. So to me, it could have been like, okay, maybe they could have just, instead of saying genetics, could have said blood type.
yeah,
If they said blood type, that would have been okay, and then it still allows for the personality match.
yeah, who
Kinda
knows?
Angle. And then the other thing that I thought was kind of weird, there was, oh, crap, I think I just lost my train of thought here. We'll have to come back to that in a little bit.
I also liked the scene where he has the symbiote in him and he's interrogating Eddie.
Yeah.
I like the way like he seemed like a little more cocky, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna write in my journal about this tonight."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, see, like more of this.
Yeah.
I like this smarmy stuff."
I agree.
And I liked when he was talking to the kids, and he was like, "Yeah, don't quiet her down. Like let her like." we people who ask questions are the ones who change the world. I like that scene as the public persona stuff. Those are the three scenes I thought he did a great job. And then I guess the rest of it was kind of just him being like, "Get Eddie, like I need a symbiote," and you're kind of like,
Because to me, the interesting thing about Carlton Drake was the public persona part was just like, okay, if Elon Musk really were a mad scientist and like a supervillain in real life, this is exactly what it would look like. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I really appreciated that angle that they took there. It's just at no point in time did I actually believe he was the Carlton Drake of, you know, the world and all that kind of stuff. It was just like, I wish there was more news stuff related to him to be like, oh yeah, I got you Carlton Drake, and then Eddie Brockman like, holy shit, all this kind of stuff. And then there'd been like maybe some background stuff where it's like, Carlton Drake, millionaire financier CEO or whatever, like has donated this to this and all that kind of stuff. So if they built that angle up a little bit more, I would have been like, this is cool. But in reality, all you really get is Carlton Drake and what you're seeing of him every single time. You don't get that renowned
you don't
respect
know
or anything
how
like
people
that.
feel about him, other than most people agree with Eddie that he's a crook, but they don't want to get into it.
Like if he was like doing a press conference and people are like, "Oh, we love you, Drake," all that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, this is cool now. I like that. But they did. I wish they got to do that, and they didn't get a chance to do that.
There's a lot of stuff they didn't get to.
Yeah,
but like, that was good.
This is the other angle I was talking about. So, you remember that scene where they're like testing out the symbiote connections with the humans, and there was that one guy that did actually bond with the symbiote, and the symbiote starts killing him and rejecting him. I thought this would have been really, really cool, because this is my dietitian brain kicking in. They're like, we've given enough liquid nutrition to feed an elephant, versus like every scene that you see the symbiote, like with Eddie and
even
Venom.
in Malaysia,
like even in Malaysia, whenever they eat
raw
anything,
fish and stuff.
he eats raw shit. And like that could have been like the reason why is like, okay, well, this is why it wasn't surviving. Maybe that was a good bond and all that kind of stuff. But because
I didn't
it's
get the
not
tater
feeding
tots connection. Other than it's an interesting.
I just think he liked tater tots or something like that. He's like, oh, this is something that tastes good. But
he needed raw food.
We wanted like real, because like the scene in the restaurant where he's like, he eats the steak, he bites it, it's like, and just tells the waiter, it's like, this is dead. This is dead. And he just goes into the lobster tank. I'm like, I know what's going to happen now.
No, it was a lobster, and it was like, oh yeah, raw fish. And then he's like, no, this is dead. And then he goes in and gets the real deal.
Yeah. So I thought that would have been like a really cool thing to be like, that's why he died. But at the same time, it was just Riot literally being like, no, you'll survive as a host. He's just testing people out to be like, you're strong enough for me, or you're not, or like I can use you to get back home or whatever. Because he clearly was like, no, I'm gonna use. Oh no! Wait, that wasn't Riot. That was another symbiote that died. And I love that one scene though, where to show off how evil Carlton was. Like, you let this die.
Yeah.
You let the door open. You let the oxygen, and you let a higher being die. How dare you? Kind of deal.
Yeah.
Not even like to being like Dr. Skirth is like completely disposable. And like to me, Dr. Skirth was probably one of the better, stronger characters in this movie. Showing actual like character development and all that kind of stuff. I wanted more of her.
Well, she didn't really have character development. She just was a good person that was like, no, there's ethical. You can't do this.
Well, the whole idea of her being like, at first we thought we were doing the cancer and like everything was justifiable, but now it's completely different and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, yeah, I like that actually quite a bit.
I don't think there was any. More to think about. There weren't any characters I didn't like. This was like, it was all. I think the fair criticism of the movie is some wasted potential. Some people feel there's more than others. I think there is inarguably wasted potential in this. We've pointed out two elements of like being able to really dive into Carlton and Eddie.
Yep.
Just being able to dive into some stuff more and flesh things out, because I do think they had a good idea there. Obviously, it gets mixed up in the whole. Most people just think about Venom as a Spider-Man villain and think about the story that obviously was shown in the cartoon, was shown in Spider-Man 3. But I mean, retroactively, I'm like, well, it's a good idea that they didn't go that way, because they want to create something new.
Yeah,
and it's just as we know. Up until this movie came out, Tom Holland was still on the like, and he was on set, but. So I don't really know what that was, other than
I
he
think
just
that was
wanted
just
to be like.
him-
He is friends with Tom.
Tom
Hardy. They've
So-
worked together before, so maybe
They got the same initials too, so
TH
boom.
did.
So they're just like, I thought that they sent me this jet.
He's like, oh, so I don't need to be here.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Plus, Tom Holland, he does like doing a lot of things that troll people. Like he just really
very
likes
funny
those kind
troll.
of things.
I like
He
it.
likes doing that, and I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's fun that he's having fun.
And so, going into it, I was like, because I knew he wouldn't be in it. Going into
No,
it,
there's
I
no way.
was like, oh, it's so dumb that they would do that.
Yeah, Marvel
and then
wouldn't let
I
him
came
do
out,
it.
and then I came out, and I was like, nah, that's pretty good actually. I don't. It's not the movie, but the idea to not have Spider-Man in there, and like, because
Yeah.
if Spider-Man stays just shared between Sony and MCU, then I think having Venom prove that he can operate in a storyline that's not dedicated to Peter Parker Spider-Man is a good idea, and it means that
Yes.
going forward, if Tom Holland Spider-Man really takes off, you can enjoy his movies and you can enjoy Venom movies and not wish that they were together.
Yep.
Because there's a bunch of Spider-Man villains, and you'll enjoy watching him do that, and you can enjoy watching Venom do his thing in this universe. I do think that is a smart idea. I don't know how it'll work for all of the, because I know they want to do Kraven the Hunter and stuff.
Yeah.
Again,
I just don't feel like at this point Marvel and Sony could get together to do a proper Spider-Man and Venom movie anymore. Because
well, I mean,
right off
it
the
could
bat,
it could very well be that like Spider-Man helps him defeat
could be,
a thing, but
like,
it would be a team. It would not be a
exactly.
versus. I don't think I could get to a point where, because he's pretty much, we've already used up the I'm at my lowest point, and I
Yes.
believed that was a good lowest point for him.
I believe
that he
so,
lost.
too.
That was a good way of doing that.
Yeah.
So trying to do that again with Peter Parker doing something to him, I feel like he would just be like, yeah, I've been there before. I'll get out of it again.
Exactly. So it's just like it stunts what the future of it could be, in the sense where there can't be a Spider-Man versus Venom kind of thing. So you don't
I'm
have
sure
the
they'll
narrative.
try. I mean,
Like,
I
unless you
am
do
on your
mind
side.
control or something
Yeah.
like that. But like, honestly, I just don't think it'll happen.
I wouldn't be excited by the idea of it.
No.
I would, whatever, if they wanted them to team up, sure.
Yeah.
But like,
But it's a
I
team up right
like-
off the bat.
yeah.
There's no like, because now that there's the morals already established, like that guideline, that very Dexter-esque guideline of like, there are good people or there are bad people. We like, this is,
and he's like, and how
what
do
you're
you
allowed
know?
to do.
And like, I like that he was like,
Yeah.
I want to know. Like,
Yeah.
tell me how, because it's what I
There's-
liked in Jessica Jones season 1, where Purple Man was like, no, I legitimately don't know what the right thing to do is.
Yep.
And like, he may have just been trying to fuck with her, but like, that was still a nice concept of like, you know, that back there where I actually thought killing that person was the right thing to do. I need you around. So I like that they've packaged that into Eddie Brock and Venom, of him being like, yeah, just let me know. Like, I
agree.
I'm down.
But the reason why like you won't ever get Venom now fighting Spider-Man is because there's no way to interpret Spider-Man as anything but the hero,
Yeah.
unless he really
And two
listens to,
heroes
like,
can
the-
work
yeah.
together. It's just, I don't, even if Venom was like, fuck that guy,
Yeah.
Eddie would be like, no, he's doing the right thing. I'm like,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
sure. And I'm sure by the time they meet up, Venom will have enough experience being like, I know what a good guy is.
The only way you would see a fight now is like they team up together, and Spider-Man has way more rules than Venom does.
Yeah.
And Venom's like, no, we want to do this and all this kind of stuff. He's like, no.
it'll be like a
then they
momentary
throw,
thing.
Yeah, they throw fisticuffs down for like one scene, and then like it's never a real high stakes fight. You're never afraid that anyone's gonna lose their life or there's any stakes involved. It's just like, no, they're just figuring it out. Let's
Yeah.
let them figure it out, kind of deal.
And yeah,
that's what you're
'cause I
limited
think
to now.
that's what I came away from the movie is like, he's not the like monster
No.
that you would think Spider-Man would view Venom as.
Exactly.
He would just be like,
Yeah.
I again, I still think they have a good kernel of an idea here, and
I
they
think
could probably
the
get
idea-
better as it goes on.
I think the idea was a lot better than what I originally gave it credit for. But is it as strong as it?
No, it's not strong.
No,
It
it's
is
not
not a
strong.
strong movie. I'm not here to be like, no, guys, come. I was joking when I was like, one of the best ways in it. No, there's obviously like, you can think back to a lot of stuff and be like, well, that wasn't like, that doesn't make sense, or that's not good.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, it is a more fun movie than even the trailers give it credit for, and yeah,
Oh, it's a totally fun movie. That's the one thing about it, and that's what's like the rating that we have, that I have, is because I went into this movie being like, listen, I can't think too much about this. I know that. If I do,
I went in being like, this is going to be shit. And then I was like, it's not shit.
I just sat down. I'm like, you know what? We'll pick apart this. But right now, I'm just going to turn off my brain. I'm just going to watch this and have fun. And that's exactly what happened. Because this movie is fun.
Yes.
It's a
more fun than
movie to
Justice
watch.
League. Don't fucking talk about it.
Absolutely.
If I hear anyone who was like, Justice League was pretty good, saying, oh, Venom was horrible.
Yeah.
I won't be able to respect your opinions.
Yeah,
going
no,
forward.
I'm just like, wait, seriously? Like,
They're equally as incompetent films, except for that Justice League was based off of other movies that came. Even if I think that's not comic accurate, it wasn't even accurate to the tone they set in the movies before. Like Batman now just like tells jokes like, "Oh, that's something definitely bleeding now," and like what they like Wonder Woman's now just like. Yeah, I know that in Batman vs. Superman I had it all together, but now I'm really sad about fucking whatever his name is. What's his name? Trevor?
Yeah.
Like
now everything's
Steve
falling
Trevor.
apart. Yeah.
I'm just like, what?
And
then like
tonal inconsistencies and
it was inconsistent even within the movies that we've already like seen
and remember,
with them. So like
Batman vs. Superman and Justice League are supposed to be back to back, give or take like a few months.
Yeah, and also
so you don't.
Another thing I never said about Justice League that bothers me is everyone's like, yeah, like Superman might want to fight Batman. I'm like, why?
Well,
why would he? They were already friends before he died.
Yeah,
they'd already established like a friendship.
Yeah.
It makes no sense that he would be mad and do you bleed? Like, what did you forget the fact that you guys fought Doomsday together and like already were like Martha? Like, it doesn't make any sense in that movie.
It's a dumb,
At
dumb
least
thing.
Venom can be dumb, but be the beginning of something, and they can get better.
Yes, it's true. It's not ruining something.
Justice
that already
League
existed.
was a culmination, and it sucked. Venom is not great, but also can get better.
Yeah.
There's at least room for improvement.
Yeah. The only time, if someone were coming up to me and say, like, I loved Justice League and I hated Venom, I'm like, the only time I will not challenge that is if that is a child under the age of 10. I'm like, okay, you probably have irrational reasons for why you're saying those things. I don't care right now. It's not worth my time to argue with you, kid. You do you. But you're going to realize 10 years down the road that you're wrong. And this is just stupid. But, like, you're right in the sense where Venom can only get better.
Yeah.
This franchise and where it's going can only get better. Versus what you have now, Justice League. It's like, okay, Man of Steel was a strong entry. Batman versus Superman was terrible. And then you have Wonder Woman, which was great. And then you're ruining the Wonder Woman and the Man of Steel thing. You're ruining those two things by creating this shit show of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Versus this is just like, this is bad, but not horribly bad. It's not train wreck bad.
It's not like when people are like, it's like Catwoman. Like, it's like Catwoman to the extent that like it's not what you think from the comics, but at least Catwoman was like, well, we're not even trying to do Selena Kyle.
Yeah.
It's not a good movie, and I like Venom way more than I like Catwoman.
Oh, absolutely.
But like that's where those comparisons end in terms of like, oh, I went into it thinking I was going to get something I didn't get, but I liked what I got for the most part in Venom. Like it's just not, it's not a horrible movie. I don't know.
No, it's turn off your brain and just watch.
Yeah.
That's it.
What I will say was bad was the post-credit scene.
Oh my god.
With Woody Harrelson. That should have just been cut. I feel like there's no point. There's no point because I've seen the movie twice. I did not watch the post-credits the second time, but I got to see the movie on Wednesday, and like basically none of the audience knew what was happening. They were just like,
really?
Okay. So Ronald McDonald's going to cause carnage or something? That was a horrible wig.
It was a terrible wig. It was
a horrible wig, and also
wasn't as bad as Fantastic Four wig.
No, it's bad. Yes, it is. It's not as bad. It's worse.
It's
like
it was a terrible wig.
It looked horrible. Why couldn't he just be bald? I get it. He needs to have red hair, but like he could have a beard or something. Woody Harrelson's bald. That's just his thing.
Like that's what the
if
issue
you're gonna
was when they
hire
casted
him.
And
if
I
you're
was
gonna
like,
hire
they're
him,
gonna put him as Cassidy, and they're gonna put a red wig on him. This is gonna look ridiculous.
And
before I saw the actual scene,
and did he have like red freckles or something?
No, he did not have the freckles. No,
he just. My memory of it was like this, like what?
This
looks like a blooper reel thing they did where it's like, haha, like we got because Woody Harrelson was in Zombieland, like it looks like I would watch that as an extra on a DVD where like you think something good's gonna happen, and then Woody Harrelson turns up like, yeah, just joking around.
So I was just sincerely hoping it was like, oh, okay, they downplayed the Woody Harrelson thing. They just silently reshot that scene without him and casted the guy that's played Rorschach from Watchmen. Because that is my like
Jackie Earl Haley, something like that.
That is my number one Clarence Cassidy casting choice is to have him.
Isn't he usually? No, he's not younger. It's just the symbiote is younger.
Yeah.
Okay. I just think he should have been set up more during the movie if that's what you're going to end on. Like, I get that before that he was like, "Oh, I got a big thing coming. You're going to have to read it like everyone else." But like, they don't say his name.
No.
So like, who cares? And then just being like, "Oh, there's going to be a lot of carnage when I get out." It's like, yeah, I know what you mean, but like,
enjoyed that
I have no concept of like
I enjoyed that a lot.
What you think that means, because you don't even have a symbiote, and also this movie has already established that the symbiotes already have their names.
Yep.
So is he just like gonna wait for a symbiote that calls itself Carnage, so he can be like, "Oh, that's good because I was gonna cause carnage, so let's hang out together."
Yeah. But also now it's just like, okay, well, how is that like meteorite that's carrying all the symbiotes gonna actually come back?
Well, no, because the story is that Carnage is legitimately Venom's offspring, so it doesn't need to come from outer space.
Now.
I mean, they would have to at this point, right? Like,
I guess so.
I mean, they don't have to. That someone else could go get it from the thing, but it just seems like it's already in place that if Venom's still there, he can have an offspring, and that offspring becomes Carnage. Yep. I just feel like it was. It's like, nice for us, but it's not a great. But like the She-Venom stuff was more interesting to me because I'm like, oh shit, like they actually did it, and like
that was great. I love that.
Like she came, I wasn't expect. I thought it was just gonna be Venom. Like I thought she was just bringing Venom, but I'm like, oh shit, like that's kind of what I liked about Anne Wang. She got to do everything really.
Yeah, she got to do a little bit.
She was sidelined to be sure, but like still, I was like, I mean, she gets to put on the suit, so that's more than even Terrence Howard got to do in Iron Man 1, because they do the same thing of like not this time, and then you're like, oh, I guess she'll get one later. But like she still got to wear it and bite off a head and save the day. And like with the Cletus Cassidy thing, you're just like, okay,
you know what?
Sure.
The other thing that's stupid about it is because like the fact that they both play into the back home I'm kind of a loser kind of deal. So why would you have a kid? Why would you have some offspring that would spawn like that would potentially challenge your claim to throne?
I don't remember how it goes, but it's not like it is like a deep. In the comics, it's like it's why they fight, because he's like, no, like I can't believe I did this. Like this is horrible. Like,
well, of course,
like he's not like, oh, good, I'm trying to spawn. I don't remember how it happens. It just happens, and then he's like, fuck, like I can't believe this happened. Like, oh no, like I have to clean up this mess type thing. That's how it works in the comics. But like, I
see the only way that this could actually link up to. So this is what I was thinking. The only way that this could actually link up to Spider-Man now is Venom and Spider-Man work together
to beat Carnage
in a Maximum Carnage-esque type movie, which is something I've been begging for a long time. And that would be great. Podcast. And it could be done, but you're missing that backstory between Venom and Spider-Man and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but you don't need it.
You don't need it anymore. Well, you can't have it anymore.
Well, you can't have it, but you don't need it. I could still see Spider-Man being, and then like. No, maybe that's like where all of his Spider-Man stuff comes from if he works with him. Because someone before I saw it on the Wednesday, and I was going to ask you actually, is there another post-credit scene other than just the scene from Into the Spider-Verse?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it.
So I saw it on the Wednesday, and then when I was going to see it on the Thursday, because I can watch A Star Is Born and Venom at the same weekend.
Oh, snap.
A guy was like, yo, just tell me if this is true. I heard that the other post-credit scene is that Venom sees, or Eddie sees Spider-Man swinging on TV and says, hey, I like his style, and that's where the Spider logo comes from, which I'm like, well, I didn't see that. But also, I saw in it like advanced by a day screening, so maybe they just didn't attach that.
Yeah,
and
I didn't see that either.
I didn't stay for the like post credits.
The only post credit I saw that was actually linked into this Venom verse was the Clarence Cassidy thing, and then there was the Into the Spider-Verse thing, which I'm getting so much more excited about.
I actually read Spider-Man, which it looks like this movie will be taking elements from.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good story. I'm down to watch it. I was always down because it was Miles Morales. But like the trailer, we didn't talk about that trailer. Well, that's the trailer we should have talked about. The Into the Spider-Verse second one with Spider-Ham and like all the different like Spider-Man in it.
Yeah.
With Nicolas Cage's Spider-Man
Noir. According to Vox, there's only the Cletus Cassidy Carnage scene and then the Into the Spider-Verse.
I think maybe someone just said that with the hopes of keeping that Spider-Man thing alive. But what I'm saying, like, it's fine. I would buy him taking on more Spider stuff if he fought Carnage with Spider-Man. It was like
totally,
and then just was like, yeah, okay, cool.
Or even like a moment where like because the thing is in the story, like Eddie Brock,
or
is,
he
like,
has to use Peter Parker,
and he has to use Peter Parker as a host for a little bit. It's like, hey, I like this. I gotta take some of these properties and move them into Eddie now.
So you can get him there.
You could. It's just not. It's just a retelling.
It won't be. It won't be a comic accurate. And that part doesn't bother me. It's
I don't
the inconsistency that we haven't really talked about. But just know I'm aware of them. If you're listening to things, but what about this? I probably think that too.
Because
I just didn't want to come in here and bash it. I guess
the funny thing is like because we shat all over the fact that like if. For the X-Men earlier on in this podcast, in the sense where it's like, oh, you're retelling the same storyline and everything like that. So if Venom did Venom in the MCU did, or Sony in the MCU did a true Spider-Man story of the Venom origin, I'm like, okay, so you're doing Spider-Man 3 again. Like we would have that
exactly. I think that's what I like.
So like if they did this, now that I'm thinking about it, you're right. This could potentially be so much better than whatever, and could link up and all that kind of stuff, and they could give Venom the spider powers of like, okay, we're gonna now web sling through San Francisco, which that was the most unrealistic aspect of everything to this movie, was how clear the skies were in San Francisco. I'm like, give me one goddamn fog-filled day, just like what? Like, come on, man. I was gonna say because
Venom is in 4DX. I'm like, what are they even gonna do? Like, it doesn't rain during that movie. So it doesn't
just
snow.
Like, what the hell?
Like, there's dumb. Like the smoke scene, like when he beats the SWAT team up. There's like nothing to do in 4DX. Why did they switch it over to that?
It's so dumb. It's I don't know. It's still another way to justify the technology for the theater.
Yeah, fair enough. I did not love the movie, even though I haven't really talked about what I didn't like. I think I just put it out of my head. I'm aware that there is story inconsistencies.
Oh, very pacing issues. It could have been edited very differently. Because I like the way I proposed it. They did like in the middle of his downward spiral, he's established as not a hero, and he builds his way up, as opposed to like you're a good guy ish.
I think there's more of a hubris to him at the beginning. Oh, totally. So while I agree, I probably wouldn't want to see all that stuff. I mean, it all is pieces you need. It's all relevant stuff. It's just, so that's why I say it's more of a pacing issue than. Completely cutting that stuff out. True. Because it does set him up as this cocky guy who would be like, oh shit, like, I have no problem looking into my fiance's emails and like stealing this information to do this, and then having that downside where he's like, maybe I need to take, and I guess that's the part of the Venom thing of being like, I like humans, you've made me like humans. And having that be a connection, or like when he even says like when Anne Wayne's like, get in the car, he's like, I like her, get in the car, like I'm not gonna try and kill her, like let's go. I think that's where they're trying to go, but again, it's not pieced together for you to connect all those dots easily, or even make it seem like that was on purpose. Right. I just feel like you do need to see him still a good person, but with this hubris. Like, he's got good intentions, and he's got this hubris just like Carlton Drake has good intentions in that. And you realize that hubris for Carlton Drake's never going away. Yeah. He is definitely willing to just indulge in going down that path, whereas Eddie Brock isn't.
Yeah. All right. It's rating time.
You can go first.
All right. I'm giving this 6 out of 10.
Yeah, 6 out of 10. We did it. It was the same score. It seemed like we agreed on most of this thing.
We did agree on the most of it. Like, 'cause the moment I watched this, I'm like, we're gonna like this for the same reasons. It's a fun movie.
I thought you were gonna hate it.
I like, the thing is, what I hate, I didn't actually, it didn't bother me as much as I thought it would.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Nothing bothered me too much other than the post-credit scene.
Because and that's I think this is. There's going to have a lot of rewatchability behind this. You've already watched it twice.
Yeah, I've seen it twice, and I liked it better the second time.
Yeah. I feel like once it comes out on a streaming service or whatever, or once I get to that point and I rewatch it, I'm like, hey, you know what? This actually was a lot better than I thought it would be. Because the thing is, to me, this probably was a little bit higher than a 6. But because I didn't get to rewatch it and think about those elements again, then it's harder to actually confidently say this is a 7. Because that's the most I'm probably willing to give it.
I'm not gonna be out here like I was for X-Men Apocalypse. Like, no, it was an 8, and then rewatch. I'm like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I think I saw it the first time. I was like, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, did I like? I think I legitimately like it. And then like on my way home, just kept thinking like, well, I guess that was dumb. This was also dumb. And it's one of those movies like I don't actually think about the dumb stuff until after. It's like. It's an engaging movie that way.
Yes.
It's like fun where like it draws you in. I mean, you could just be put off by Tom Hardy's performance and then nothing will work.
That's a stereotypical New York taxi cab driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at some points I was like, he seems like he's doing a good West Coast accent, but then they're like, no, he is from New York. I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's just all over the place. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But like I guess what's strong is that I like the Tom Hardy performance. I definitely, and I liked most people's performances. Like, only performance I didn't like are people who have like one scene maybe, and that doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, and that's just like whatever.
Like everyone who has a leading role, I was like, yeah, they're doing a good job. Yeah. So like that works for me. So then that buys the movie a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
And then it's after the fact, I'm like, no, it's not. And then I watch this thing, and I'm like, no, I was right. I like this movie.
The thing is, everyone that has a lead role is doing so well, but not cohesively.
No, you're right.
So to me, I'm like, Michelle Williams.
She's in a different movie, but I still like her character. Like she's acting like she thinks she needs to be like, oh, this is a dumb comic book movie.
Yeah. So the
which
thing
is fine.
The character of Anne and the character, like, there's no chemistry between the two of them. There really isn't. And I'm fine with that because they spend the majority of the movie away, but it doesn't justify.
Yeah, I did
why
buy
they
them
get
as
spent.
friends more than I bought them as
exactly right. But whenever you see Anne, she's like, on her own scenes, like, you're kicking ass. But together with Eddie, you're just like, oh, this is.
No, I like her with that. I'm just saying that beginning stuff. I wasn't like, oh, they're gonna stay together forever. I was like, I kind of right away was like, oh, yeah, this isn't gonna last.
It was like, you know that where that's gonna go, but at no point in time where you're like, do you want them to get back together?
Actually say I did not know where that storyline was going. Right. So when they got divorced, I was like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not divorced. They called off the marriage.
Called off the engagement.
I was like, oh, okay. And then because they completely hide the Dan character, because I like that actor from Veep.
Yeah.
He's in other stuff, but mostly I just know him from Veep.
Reed Scott.
Yeah. I was almost called him Scott Reed. I was just like, yeah, he's doing a great. He's doing a nice version of what I like him doing in Veep, because he's a real dick in Veep, and I was like, perfect casting for her new boyfriend. And then when he ended up being a good guy, I was like, oh, all right, nice surprise movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I like him in that episode of New Girl that he's in.
I don't know if I've seen that episode. Is that like
it's the wedding episode where Jessica Day is going against Jessica Biel for like the best man. Like he played that like
I'm
really
tell you
dumb
this.
best
I
man
stopped
thing
watching
really
it in
well.
2014. So if this episode aired after 2014, then I didn't see it.
May not have.
Oh,
the final
well,
season's not great. It's good.
I didn't stop because I don't like
things,
it.
But
I just stopped watching it because I was like, there's too many shows, and I only kind of like this show.
yeah.
So I like Reed Scott, and I liked him in this movie, and I was like, oh, I'm glad that they went, as I said, this new route of, obviously, yes, he thinks he's going to get her back, but that for the actual meat of the movie, it's not really about that.
It's not about that whatsoever. But he's making ground. They're talking again, so that's
and she
good
did
for them.
kiss him, and you don't know if she meant that she liked the power more than she liked the kiss.
Yep.
Anyway, the point is, I'm well aware of what's bad about this movie. I still enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Yep.
If you were looking for us to bash the movie, I'm sorry, but I feel like it was important to point out what works about the movie more than just getting into it.
Because the thing is, like, one of the biggest things for this movie, me walking out of the theater and being like, I didn't hate that.
Mm-hmm. And you were really against
and
this
I was
movie.
so against that movie. To me, was like, it deserves multiple rewatches for the sake of it's probably a better movie than I'm giving it credit for right now with the 6 rating. It probably is.
feel like
For my
6
gut
is-
reaction for me to
Yeah.
go into the movie being like, all right, let's shit all over this, and then like walking out of it and be like, that was a little bit better than I thought it would be. It must have been like it was a lot better than what I thought it would be.
I agree with that sentiment. I was like, oh, it'll be a fun ride, and it was a fun ride.
Yep.
And then I didn't like the post credit, and also that's the only thing I remember not liking specifically, other than pacing issues. There's a ton of them, and there's some just weird.
There's some weird little things
Yeah.
there, inconsistencies. But like the whole aspect of like the symbiotes being like, I was ready to be like, well, why were they web slinging here with no thing? Like I was ready to do that all over this podcast, and they took care of that so well.
Yes.
They really did. I cannot stress that enough. Like the whole like, oh yeah, like it was like, so one of the first things too is like that first trailer that they released, and he transformed into Venom, and everyone's going wild. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to go wild yet until I see his chest. If he has a spider on his chest, I'm going to shit all over that. And they didn't, and they were smart about that.
Yeah.
So I was just like, all right, this is
Also,
what's
a
happening.
rare case of everything from the trailer being in the movie.
I know, right?
Not in the order you think it will happen,
Yes.
and not even in the context you think it will happen, but it's all in there,
Yeah.
which I appreciated.
Yep.
Like, I was like, oh, they're not doing the we can do whatever we want. I'm like, oh, ending on it. Fair enough.
Yep.
Okay. Or the, because I was
Pancreas,
like,
lungs, or whatever.
yeah, like the
he
turn of the
does
wind.
that. Yeah.
By the time he says you're going to be a turn of the wind, I was like, I like it because I buy that this character would say that.
Yes.
Like, because you realize it's not Eddie and Venom speaking as one person. That was Venom being like, I'm talking to you.
Yep.
And he's acting like the big brother enforcer in this
Yeah.
situation of like, hey, so that's the kid that bullies your friend? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to go talk to him.
It's fun to me because it's like, okay, Venom's taking the wheel now.
Yeah.
Or like Brock's taking the wheel. So it's fun to watch that
Yeah.
dynamic, but them still being like they're both backseat driving each other.
Yeah.
I think that dynamic is actually really cool in
Yeah,
this movie.
I wish there was more of that.
Yeah.
But like,
That's
I
one of
don't
the
think
best
they
stuff
knew
happens
that
here.
people would like it as much. I feel like
Because
they were
it
like,
can
oh, we
be
have to
very
do horror
annoying
stuff.
very soon. It's
Well,
better
that's
to
the thing.
leave
You have to
people-
like.
yeah.
That's what it is. You have to like Tom Hardy's performance, or else everything falls.
Everything
apart.
falls apart.
If
otherwise.
and I can see someone just being like, I don't like his performance, and then
It's
there's
not his
no way
strongest
this movie will work.
performance. That's absolutely
No,
the case.
but like if you don't like what he's doing, there's no way that you could watch this
there's
movie and be like, oh,
absolutely-
that was fun.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, that was so annoying. That was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then maybe then you do like Justice League better than this movie.
Exactly.
But from a film critic point of view, I feel like you have to admit to yourself, this is a stronger film than Justice League.
Yes.
Just on putting it on paper wise.
Yes. There's much more thought
Yeah.
put into this. For sure there is.
Performances, if you're just a big Ezra Miller fan and you're like, no, this was amazing, so much fun,
Yep.
fair enough, and you
Yep.
don't like Tom Hardy, fair enough. But if you take that out of it,
But if you're neutral towards both things and you're telling me that Justice League is better than this, no, that's a logical
False.
inconsistency. Yeah,
It is
that's
false.
a huge logical inconsistency
all right,
on many, many accounts.
we did it.
We did it. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Time or something. To
Yeah,
that
we'll be
degree.
back.
We
That's
won't.
for
We
sure.
won't have a hiatus like we
Yeah,
did.
it was not going to be 3 months.
Yeah. Most likely, we're going to talk about
It's going to be
stuff and
Daredevil
things.
season 3.
or
and Iron Fist
probably Iron Fist and then Daredevil season 3. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll figure it out for you.
Yeah,
guys.
it'll happen. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
go
Glad
listen to
be
more
back
podcasts
on our
on.
home, the shelf.
Yeah, that's the one. It's dorkshelf.com. I should have really talked to them about how they wanted this to go.
Yeah.
But go to dorkshelf.com. There's podcasts. We're
Yep.
part of it. There's other podcasts. It's great. And if you want to hear a backlog of our episodes, it's on tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten.
Yeah, especially the Justice League episode because we
Yeah.
really have fun shitting all over that movie. That's a great
Well, I didn't have
episode.
fun. That hurt me. I didn't like it.
Oh my god, I
did not like that
love
movie.
shitting all over that movie. It was
But yeah, listen to that and other things. You can also just listen to us talk about Venom from an early spot, and now you've come to here where we actually kind of like the movie.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for listening. You can find our social media coordinates on tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten. You can also find it on Dorkshelf, to be fair, but you pick the one you want to do, or go to both. It'll be
Yeah.
great. Thank you very much for
Bye.
listening. Bye.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.